Hey there folks, Uncle Troy here. I was just checking my oil and that reminded me of something I've been meaning to talk about here on my vlog channel. So we'll get to that here in just a second, but first let's say hello to some new subscribers. Okay, so the human body can be compared to a car engine. And you have to take care of your car if you want it to keep going. Likewise, you have to take care of your body to keep it going. And especially if you have any health problems like diabetes or high blood pressure like I do, you have to check things every so often. And that's why I've got this here, what's called a glucometer. It checks my blood glucose level. And I have to do that several times a day depending on my health. And I kind of liken that to checking the oil in your car engine. You want to check the oil in your car every so often just to make sure it's at the right levels, and that's pretty much what checking your blood sugar is. It's making sure you're at the right levels. And you can make changes. You can add oil if you're a little low. You can add certain additives to make your oil last longer, but that only keeps you going so far. Then you need to go to a mechanic and you need to have your oil changed, and you need to have various things checked that you can't check yourself. Now, I'm pretty good at looking at an oil on a dipstick and telling you if the car's oil's been changed lately, because it gets darker and grittier looking the longer it goes. So if you got real dark oil on your dipstick, you know it's time for an oil change. But there are other things about an engine that I have no idea about, and I would have to go to a licensed mechanic who would have some idea of how to check things and what to fix if things were wrong. And I kind of liken that to going to the doctor every 3, 6 months, a year, however often it is you're supposed to go see a doctor, because I can check things on a daily basis, but when it comes to making changes and how, the maintenance of the vehicle, I don't know what to do. And that's why doctors want you to come in every 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, if you're diabetic, for some lab work, and so they can tweak your medicines, tell you need to check your oil more or less often, and just generally, how to take care of yourself. And if you fail to do that, they will tell you, well, you have to come in and get this stuff, you have to have this done, or we're not going to be responsible for your health anymore, which kind of strikes me as a little odd, since it's their job to take care of you. So taking this analogy a little further, that your car is your body, so to speak, what would you do if you went to your mechanic and they said, okay, we're taking away your dipstick and we're not going to let you buy another dipstick until you come in for a full 20-point checkup and a tune-up if necessary. You tell that mechanic you're crazy, I'll just go to a different mechanic. I'll go down to an auto parts store and I'll buy my own dipstick. I will learn to change my own oil if I have to. I'm not going to be held hostage by you and what you think I should do. I'm paying you to take care of my car. Why are you setting limits for me? And you would say, screw you. Yeah, I don't want you to be my mechanic anymore. On the other hand, if you go to a doctor and they say, you're not compliant with your regimen we've given you, you've not been taking your blood sugar off as often as you should, you've not been following our diet or whatever, and you've not been coming in for your regular monthly, tri-monthly, whatever blood draws, well then we're not going to be responsible for your health anymore. We are not going to give you any more prescriptions for your meter, for your test strips. We're not going to give you any more medications. We're not going to refill your prescriptions. We're basically going to hold your health hostage until you come in and get the lab work we think you need, or just come and talk to us in the office. Even if we're not going to do any lab work, we have to physically lay eyes on you every year, or we're not going to give you a prescription for your maintenance medications. And maintenance medications are different than the medications you're probably familiar with. If you got a cold, a flu, or whatever, and you're really stuffed up, they might give you a prescription for decongestion, and you take that as long as you're congested. And then once you're done, you stop taking it. If you had an infection or something, they might write you a prescription for antibiotics, and you would take that for a week, 10 days, or whatever. But you wouldn't keep taking it every day, day in and day out, for months or years at a time. You just take it until your particular problem went away. Then you'd stop taking it. But if you've got something like diabetes or high blood pressure, you're going to keep taking that medication every single day. You're going to take it every day, day in and day out, even if you don't think you need it, even if you're not throwing any symptoms, because you've got a chronic condition that you need constant maintenance medications to take care of. If I just took my blood pressure medicine on a day I've got a headache because my blood pressure is too high, well, a lot of times your blood pressure would be too high on days you didn't realize it. And plus the maintenance medication has to kind of build up in the bloodstream. You have to take it constantly. Therefore, you're constantly getting the effects, the good effects of having that medication in your bloodstream. Likewise, while my diabetic medicine might be adjusted depending on what my blood sugar is that day, I can't just, decide I'm not going to take it for a couple of weeks, because then my blood pressure, would vary outside of the range we want it to be in. Now, likewise, your car or truck will last a lot longer if you check the oil occasionally, keep the water topped off. Just basically check it occasionally to make sure everything's working properly. For example, today when I came out to check my oil, I realized that the cap for my water reservoir, coolant reservoir, is missing. And I know it was there 2 weeks ago when I checked and added more water, and I remember screwing it on, but it's now missing. So it's possible I didn't get it on all the way, or one of my brothers or my nephews, which like to come in and help out because they think I'm mechanically not very good, checked it and forgot to put it on there. It's possible I just hit a bump just right, jarred it loose, because it wasn't one of these tight-fitting, snap things. Basically, it's just there to keep the water from sloshing out. It's not the pressurized part of the radiator system. That's over here, radiator cap. So I've got to get another cap for this. Now, had I not been checking regularly, I would not have noticed this, and we could have sloshed coolant all over the engine. Could have ran out of coolant. Could have caused a major problem. It could have gone some wires and shorted them out. That's why you do regular maintenance checks on your engine. Likewise, that's why you regularly check your blood sugar or your blood pressure or whatever your health problem is. Now, the problem I have with doctors is that they don't seem to understand that. You see, a doctor will stress you always need to check your blood sugar every day. You always need to take your maintenance medicines every day. This is vitally important. But let's say you've got an appointment to see the doctor here in the next month, and you realize that you're going to run out of your test strips or your maintenance medications before you see the doctor, and you call them up and say, can you give me a prescription for these to last me until I see you? And then they will say, well, according to our charts, we've not seen you in 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, and I can't legally or I can't morally write you a refill on this prescription until I've laid eyes on you or until I've done this test or this other test. I just can't do that. I can't be responsible for your health because you've not been in here for your 3-month lab work or your 6-month annual physical, whatever. So I can't help you. You have to go without. But it's very important that you check your blood sugar every day. It's very important that you take your medicines every day. But I won't write you a prescription until another month and a half when you can come in and see me. And they will tell you those two things back to back and not see any type of contradiction. Now, I will freely admit that sometimes it's my fault I don't get in to see the doctor quick enough. I don't notice that I'm running low on refills. I don't notice that I'm out of one medication because, it may not be one of the ones I take every day, maybe once a week or whatever. So I don't, sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes it's their fault. For example, one time I was going in for a teeth cleaning and checkup, and it turned out the lady that did that, the hygienist or whatever, she was sleeping with the office manager's husband. And they found out about each other. Apparently he didn't never tell her he was married or something like that. And it ended up with one of them trying to run over the other one in the parking lot there at the dental place. Which I think is hilarious, but that's just me. But the problem was, without a hygienist, they couldn't bring me in for my teeth cleaning. And without an office manager, they couldn't hire a new hygienist. So they had to wait till they hired a new office manager because apparently only office managers can hire a hygienist. So I couldn't come in that week for my teeth cleaning and checkup. So I tried to call to reschedule, and they wanted to reschedule me for 6 months down the line. Well, why? Well, because your insurance will only pay for a teeth cleaning every 6 months. It says, yeah, but I didn't get a teeth cleaning this 6 months, remember? The hygienist quit. Well, got fired or went to jail, something. And they're like, well, yeah, but you canceled less than 24 hours before your appointment, so the insurance company has already paid for it, and they won't pay for another one here in another 6 months. And I'm like, can't you tell the insurance company that, I didn't get it done? And saying, well, we got a policy, if you cancel less than 24 hours, we blah, 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 blah. And apparently they were taking the stance that since I'd canceled less than 24 hours ahead of time, they'd already prepared the stuff they were going to use on me, and so they couldn't use it on anybody else. So they had to be reimbursed for that expense somehow, so they went ahead and charged my insurance. It didn't make sense. It didn't sound like it was right. It didn't sound like it was legal. And I ended up changing dentists because of it, because I think they were just trying to rip me off and rip off my insurance company. But the point was, it wasn't my fault that it was canceled. The appointment was canceled. They canceled the appointment because they didn't have an hygienist to take care of me. So why I had to pay for that, I'm not sure. Likewise, things come up. For example, the doctor's going to be out of town, or the doctor has a family emergency, or something like that, or they forgot to re-up their contract with the lab that they'd send my lab test off to get the results back or something. So they couldn't see me, and they'd have to reschedule for another week, another month, or whatever. The doctor still treats that like it's my fault, even though it was their fault that I couldn't get in to see her on the day I was supposed to see her. So, that really, really irks me that I'm being treated, wrong for their mistake, their error, their problem. Now, I admit sometimes, I've had to cancel or postpone appointments because I was at the last minute asked to work that day, because of a family emergency, because, just something come up in my life. But again, big deal, I'm a week or a month late for something that's arbitrarily scheduled anyway. Because, yes, I understand, I have to check my blood sugar every day, I have to take my medicine every day, and you don't want to, just keep, give me a lifetime supply of this medicine and then turn me loose. You want me to come in and be checked every so often, have my blood drawn, have it sent off to a lab, have it checked to make sure we've got the right dosage and everything. And I can understand the health problems that could result if I never came in for another test and took my medicine as prescribed now, when I might not need that medicine or that same dosage in the future at some point, and we'd never know if I didn't come in for the test. I understand that. I get it, okay? I understand. But the thing is, I'm coming to see you next month anyway. 45 days from now, I'm coming to see you anyway. What is the harm in giving me a month and a half of my medication, or a month and a half worth of my test strips or whatever? What's the harm in that if I'm coming to see you here in a month and a half anyway? And because that's the first time that I've got a day off that, corresponds to a day that you have an opening in your schedule. Like I said, fairly arbitrary in terms of my health. Because in spite of this conversation we're having right now, in spite of right now you telling me you cannot give me a refill on my medications until you see me, in spite of that, I know here in a month and a half when I come see you and the lab results come back and you say, oh, we're going to have to totally change your medicines because the Framafram that we've prescribed you is not working because your blood sugar is out of control. And I say, the reason it looks like the Framafram is not working is that I've not taken it for a month and a half. Well, why haven't you? Well, because you wouldn't refill my prescriptions. Well, you should have called ahead. We would have given you enough prescriptions to last at least until your appointment. And I said, I tried to do that. You said you couldn't because you hadn't seen me in 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever, how long it was. And you had to see me, had to lay eyes on me, had to have the lab work before you could prescribe me any new medicine or give me a refill on the old. Oh no, that's Mr. Cheek, that's not how it works. And then if I can eventually get them to understand and agree and acknowledge that the reason why I'm off my meds is because they fell down, because they wouldn't prescribe me, because they couldn't get me into the office anytime sooner. Even when that happens, then it just turns around, they probably put it back on me, that it's my fault that I didn't realize that they wouldn't give me a prescription and hadn't somehow come to see them, 11 months after the last office visit instead of 12 months. Somehow I was supposed to psychically know that the doctor's office schedule and my work schedule would not work properly, and I should have known that if I tried to set up an appointment 12 months after the last one, that it wouldn't work and I wouldn't get in until 13 and a half months after. So I should have somehow psychically known that and made the call a month earlier and set up an appointment for a month earlier than that. I should have somehow known that, because if I really cared about my health, I would have got in to see her on time. And yes, I have been told things like that, that somehow it's my fault that I didn't get in the time I was supposed to. It's my fault that I didn't know to schedule the appointment for whenever I was supposed to schedule it. It's my fault. I should have somehow known that the hygienist and the office manager's husband were having an affair, and that it would have come to a head the same week that I was having a cleaning and a checkup, and so I should have known that, but not always. But yeah, basically that's it. Comparing your body's health to maintaining your car, and how if a mechanic would say stuff like, we're going to take your dipstick away, we're not going to sell you an extra quart of oil, we're not going to let you change your oil yourself, you have to come in and see us, or it's your fault if your car explodes on the highway. I'm comparing that to the doctors who say it's very important to always check your blood sugar, always take your medicine, but we're not going to give you a prescription for another meter or more test strips. We're not going to give you a refill on your daily medicines because it's your fault you've not come to see us fast enough. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go because I've got to somehow find a replacement for a coolant reservoir cap for a 1989 Chevy truck. This is Uncle Troy signing off. Please have a good night.